Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the metaphysics of spiritual awakening and reality creation. I'm Josh Faust, and I started my journey into the rabbit hole of spiritual awakening back at the end of 2012. And I started to have a shift in my consciousness when I started to stumble across meditation. And originally I came to meditation to help me with my own mental imbalances, my focus issues of paying attention and stuff in school. And it began in re-engaging a spark and interest in learning into the subtle mechanics of universal laws, as well as I started to have this profound communication with a higher intelligence, higher consciousness of infinite intelligence. And I wanted to talk about, first off, what is metaphysics, right? Metaphysics is a phrase that refers to meta and physics, right? Meta, that which is beyond the physics, the physical nature of reality, right? Into the spiritual nature of reality that underlies the substance of creation, or that which is vibration, right? The law of attraction, the law of vibration. And as you understand as well, this means the primal cause of things, that which is the first primal cause of things, right? And the primal cause of our physical reality, of the conditions of our life, is primarily a spiritual one, is primarily a vibrational and energetic reality that underlie our experiences. What does everybody want? Everybody wants better conditions in their life. We want to be happy, you want to be fulfilled, you want to manifest, right? And manifestation comes through healing ourselves, right? Clearing ourselves of the subconscious patterns, the limiting beliefs, the blockages in the flow of vitality and inspiration. And also, metaphysics is a study into consciousness. And we're going to dive into how this relates to spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is the awakening of our consciousness to a greater awareness of who we are, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And as I started to practice meditation, over the past 10 years, I realized a profound transformation in applying the principle of vibration. I started to become more mindful of my state of mind, of my mindset, when I was in the negative thinking, right? And I just ran across something talking about how 95% of most people's thoughts are repeated thoughts from the day before. So diving into reality creation, right? Thoughts become things, right? Your thoughts are vibrations, which then set into motion through the principle of the law of attraction. That brings together and magnetizes around those thoughts your reality. Now, I tried at first to just change my thoughts to become, you hear that, be more positive. Now, this didn't fully work for me in understanding manifestation because there's underlying patterns, right, that hold us into certain holding patterns. And this gets into the subconscious. This gets into the vibration, right? What's active in your vortex. Because if you just try to think better thoughts, what can happen is you can get into trying to avoid the low vibration or avoid the negativity. And what I realized through that process is that what you resist persists. So funny enough, if you try to force yourself all the time to be positive, if you try to force yourself to be motivated, what is force, right? Force is not the same thing as power. Force comes from pushing. Force comes from struggle. Now, imagine you are trying to reach a goal and you're pushing a boulder up a hill. Well, that's going to take a lot of force. But if you are positioned in such a way that you let go of the patterns that are holding you back, if you clear the subconscious blockages, if you're able to release and surrender into the flow by reprogramming, by shifting the patterns inside of yourself, This is the same thing that shadow work is all about. This is what embracing the contrast is all about. Now, I'm using these different terminologies because these are popular ways that people speak about the process of self-development, of the process of expanding your consciousness or raising your vibration. See, your vibration is naturally one of unity consciousness because your true self is your higher self. Let me say that again. Your true self is your higher self. The way that I relate this to is the ancient metaphor of the lotus. The lotus is grown in the mud. The seed of the lotus grows and is nourished, and the nutrients of the roots of that lotus grow through the mud and the muck of the human condition. This flower of divinity emerges through that and blossoms up into the surface of water towards the sky, creating this beautiful lotus. And that represents the contrast. That represents the shadowy, murky underwaters of our subconscious and the unconscious. And as we're able to integrate and work through those things, we start to blossom into the light. And that blossoming into the light is the revelation of your divinity, is the revelation of your true self. It was always there all along, just like the seed of the lotus intrinsically has the genetic code for it to become the lotus. Just imagine like you are a seed from the stars planted into the soil of the earth through your parents into the place you were born, and the patterns and conditions that you struggled through help you to grow and evolve. And just like in my life, when I was on drugs for ADHD, and that led me to meditation. When I was depressed and I didn't want to go down that road, I was led to meditation. I was led to nature. I was led to natural medicine. It gave me a whole different mindset shift, which then started me on my spiritual awakening journey, where I went from medication to meditation, right? And in that process, I realized that there is this matrix, or also known in the Sanskrit word as the Maya, right? And this is the illusion of separation, of which we come here and we forget who we are when we incarnate here. In order to remember who we are in a larger perspective, in a larger cosmic perspective, just as Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. You are both the actor, the producer, the play, and the stage. When you start to realize that you are a human being you are a spiritual being having a human experience, you start to understand the metaphysics of your spiritual awakening, of reality creation. Now, spiritual awakening can create a benefit and affect many aspects of our lives. The way it played out for me is I began to question everything, right? I began to become disillusioned from the mainstream narrative, and I became aware of the food. I started to become more mindful of eating healthier, of eating organic. I started to realize all this processed food is lowering our vibration. I started to realize that the mainstream narrative of fear, right, and propaganda is something that keeps us divided from ourselves, from each other, and from Source. And then I started to reclaim my connection to Source. Right? Source consciousness, the source of all that is. Our link to the source within ourselves, to the infinite intelligence that we can each and every single one of us learn to access. This is the practical spirituality, the nature of these metaphysical principles of universal laws that begin to allow us to transform our lives, that begin to allow us to liberate ourselves from patterns and shifting on the level of our identity. Now, as this disillusionment happened, I began to question everything, and it led me on a journey. I started researching metaphysics, I started researching spirituality, getting deeper into meditation, getting deeper into spiritual practices, into breath work, into different ways that I could shift my state of consciousness, right? And this led me to go on a journey of growth. This led me to go on a journey of letting go, and also certain relationships from my past. I ended up leaving my hometown in Indiana, traveling all over the United States. I'm in Bali right now recording this video. And over the past 10 years, I've also connected with many like-minded people and realized that there is a movement happening on this planet in which each of us is connected in this shift in consciousness. Now, it starts within you. It starts with understanding reality creation. And you do this by starting to study the metaphysical principles, right? Start to read Joseph Murphy, Neville Goddard, Abraham Hicks. I started to read different luminaries, right? I started to read into these different principles. And as I started to go deeper into this, I started to practice regularly meditation. And the benefits of this is that you start to become more aware of yourself. You start to become more aware of your patterns, become more aware of your energy. And in your everyday life, what I started to notice is that you're able to be aware of the emotions, right? Emotions, the energies in motion that are coming up in your body. And then as you're able to be aware of those, that you realize that they have certain packets of information that you can start to listen to your emotional guidance system. So rather than repressing, I started to feel more, right? And I started to also clear these patterns within myself through meditations, right? I have different guided meditations on the channel as well to support you in the process of spiritual awakening and reality creation. And what I started to realize is that as I cleared, I started to go through a shift in my identity. I started to identify as an inspired creator, as a creator rather than a consumer. I stopped scrolling so much on social media. I started creating it and using it as a tool to build a business, to spread a message. I started becoming aware of my life purpose. And I believe that each of us, as spiritual beings, having this human experience, we incarnate here with a divine purpose to help raise the vibration on the planet, to help support the ascension of humanity into a state of unity consciousness, into what some call the new earth, right? But really, this is ancient wisdom. And the prophecy of this time has been given through many different ancient mystery schools, indigenous cosmologies, and even religions, but it has been so misinterpreted. So what studying metaphysics allows you to do is it allows you to transcend the dogma and see things from a greater perspective. You're able to understand the codes of the matrix, the codes of the underlying creative force of language and the root of language, such as etymology. You start to become one with inspiration, which means the in-breath of spirit. And as you start to become one with this flow of life, this life force, you start to feel it more within yourself, you're able to clear and open your third eye. And this can be a trippy thing, but it also can be a very normal thing where you're simply more awake in the dream. And all the world is a stage, right? So everything in your life is a type of waking dream. Every relationship that you have is a reflection. Something that is coming back to you that you're attracting, that you can get some kind of information or contrast from. And then you can learn to grow and expand and evolve. And what I realized is that as I went deeper into myself, as I became more aware of these patterns in my life, such as that which was closing down my expression, I started to become aware of where that constriction was coming up in my body and feel that tightness in my throat and in my stomach. In my solar plexus, I started to become aware of these stories that I was telling myself that I wasn't good enough, or I didn't know what to say, or that nobody loved me. And I went in and I started to love that part of myself. I started to connect into source through meditation and do these profound processes of transmutation. And transmutation is going into the unloved parts of yourself and loving them into the light. It's bringing the light into the darkness into the light, integrating your wholeness, also known as a reconciliation of opposites in the teachings of alchemy, right? So what understanding the metaphysics allows you to do is it gives you a practical lens that allows you to see the underlying interconnectedness of all of these different systems. It gives you a systems level view. And as you start awakening and raising your awareness to a reality of connection to source, and you start to become aware of your vibration, then as you go through this clearing process, this is where the power of visualization came in, right? So as I started to receive these downloads, streams of consciousness started flowing through me. Now, some people call this channeling. It's simply a natural thing for you to do. You are like a conduit for this universal intelligence, this flow of energy to come into expression. Everyone is. Now, awakening to this is a whole other process, because you start to become having a metaphysical perspective on how your reality is created through how you're looking at things. And I started to become aware of when I was looking through things through that limited perspective. And as I started to heal those patterns around being not heard, or people not loving me, or not being seen or rejected, or any of these things, as I started to feel and clear and heal that in my body, and I started to go in and connect to the love and the of source, and I started to get into these flow states of creativity, it shifted my vibration, or started attracting people that did see me, that where there was a love reflected, where there is a flow, there is receptivity to what I have to say, to what I have to offer. And as I went on that journey, things started like naturally shucking off the skin of a corn, right? And it started polishing me, like you're polishing the diamond in the rough. All these experiences, and as I started studying and diving deep into these things, I started to realize that who I imagined myself to be was creating my perspective, and was creating my relationship with reality, which is creating my personal reality. And this applies to all of us. So as I started to connect into this greater perspective, I started to receive these downloads. Then I started connecting with conscious creation, with my life purpose. I realized I came here to share this videos, these stories, to make music, to help support other people in their awakening, right? And I started putting into how to create different offerings that would do that and support that. And then I started receiving more downloads and more information and more support and co-creation from universal intelligence, and other people as co-creators started attracting into my field of different resources and courses and things that I needed, and places to live, and the money, and different things that at moments I did not know how I was going to do this. There were at moments I didn't know where I was going to go or where I was going to stay that night. And then I had slept in tents, I had surfed on couches, I had traveled all over, I had manifested apartments, I had worked side gigs, I had started side businesses. All these things had happened and leading me to this place where now I have the freedom to create, and this alignment that happened over time. And this happened through practicing these things every single day. And that's when you're visualizing, it's like a life vision. There's something that wants to come through you. So it's more like you're tuning into it. So when you practice these receptivity meditations, what happens, you start to open yourself to a higher vision. You start to tap into your life purpose. And then you start to receive this support from the universe, these downloads, these synchronicities and opportunities, and doors start to open to you to help you fulfill that. And it's by saying yes to that, taking a step into the unknown and into the mystery, and understanding that as you knock, the door shall be open to you, right? The question contains the answer. You just got to learn to ask the right questions. So when I stopped asking the questions of why is this happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep happening over and over and over? And when's it going to happen? Those are the questions of a victim consciousness. And when I started asking myself the questions, how can I do this? Please show me the way. When I started asking, what can I shift in myself to help this to happen? What resources are available to me? What creative ideas can I turn into new opportunities and resources? How can I show up? As I started to ask myself these questions and use the power of prayer, because prayer is speaking. As you speak, so you create. That is the spell of your word, the intention behind that creative word. In the beginning was the Word, right? And the Word was God, and God was one with the Word. God is creation. And this is, your imagination is none other than your link to God, to the Creator, to the universal consciousness. Everything first starts as a thought. Everything first starts as a vibration. So as you do the clearing work, as you align with the higher stream of consciousness, with your life vision, with this purpose, with this feeling, this momentum, this desire, this fun, playful, creative spark within you, and you start to make space within yourself and become consistent within these practices, it will create a signal that will emanate and draw to you, will attract to you, will make you magnetic to the fulfillment of that seed within you. Now, our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions shape our reality. So becoming more and more mindful of asking, what state of consciousness am I in right now? And as you immerse yourself in studying these practices, studying these principles, you're going to start to gain more practical tools of how to shift your reality. Now, I recommend diving into some of the meditations on the channel if you want to explore more, as well as we have more videos on metaphysics, on reality creation. And thank you again so much for tuning in. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up, maybe share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that bell to be notified of future videos, because we are devoted to helping you stay tuned into alignment. Thank you so much, my friend, and I will see you on the next one.